Are you going to be in here or on?
I'm going to be in here because
Okay.
it wants to sign me in since I am the host. My equipment says I'm the host, so that doesn't work.
Do you want paperwork? Did you print it?
Okay.
Okay.
All right, what time is it? Do we need to wait for TV or no?
You've got to turn it on.
Got to turn on.
Hey, Rob, will you turn on the TV?
Mary's
or
going
the
to do that
mayor?
thing.
I got it.
That button right there.
That's a mayor's job.
Thank you.
He's probably. Yeah.
He's ready?
All right, Happy New Year. Good evening. And if you would join me in the pledge, we will call this meeting to order. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. It has been a while since we met. Megan, do you want to do a roll call for us?
Sarah Manalo,
Here.
Dina Kreitler, Kelly Follert,
Here.
Donna Roche, Candy Sue Maharan,
Here.
Laura Oliver,
Here.
Jack Cutting,
Here.
Nicole French, and Susan Johnson.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Is that Susie there? That's Susie. Not Siri, it's
You
Susie.
thought I said that?
Are you okay?
She's looking well, don't you think?
Hi, Susie. We're laughing at the speaker.
The little black box, you have a little black box.
Okay.
I'm not the only boomer, am I?
And all of you should have gotten, probably electronically and certainly in person, the agenda. So we need to approve that.
So moved.
Second?
I'll second.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Aye.
And our last meeting was that in September? So we have minutes to approve, and you should have gotten a copy of those, and you also got them electronically, I think. And if you want to take just a minute to look over them, I don't think there was anything startling on there.
I'll move to approve.
We have a motion to approve the minutes from September 15. Any second?
Second.
Yeah, all those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Aye.
Betsy. Okay. Do we have any citizens that need to be heard? Maybe not. So if people, do people have an opportunity to call us now if they're watching or no?
I guess they could zoom in.
Or they could join us before Zoom, okay.
Yeah, they can call if they want to dial into the Zoom phone number.
Okay, all right. I mean, I don't know that there is anyone, but
It could be.
that could be. Toby, under old business, do you have any updates from the Welcome Center or the National Parks or both?
Sure. Yeah,
I bet you do.
Yes, I do. And I've given you all a handout of a few pages here, and I've also, it's kind of a follow-along for the meeting notes for the night, and then also you have an electronic version sent by email this evening as well. So.
Right.
At the Welcome Center, probably the most noticeable thing was the removal of the boxwoods along the Market Street side. Some of those bushes had been growing out more than a foot onto the sidewalk area, and that was the main sidewalk for the people who were parking in the disabled spot to access the ramp. Had to go through that area, including the spot between the bushes and lamp posts. So those were taken out. We had talked to, as I mentioned in my notes to the Alderman on Thursday, we talked to some different landscaping crews about aggressive maintenance on those bushes, and none of the local landscapers we spoke to seem to be capable of being able to pull those back enough over the years to make it back to where it would be passable, or recommended that as the way to go. So we went with removal, which also will set the National Park Service into being able to determine what they want to do with those grounds when they take over possession of the property in the future. Inside, there's just been some small changes in the displays with the National Park Service. They've moved a couple items in, some books that were owned that were part of the Rozier collection, and an old door from the Jean-Baptiste Vallée house that has been put on there and display as well. So they're still developing some of those things, which also will roll in with their new hires. So they have some people hired and ready to come aboard. They have a maintenance worker who's in the process of moving up full-time permanent. Their part-time person, Josh Hepler, his last day was on Friday. And so their new person, his name's Andy Newman. He comes here from Great Smoky Mountains National Park. And I know he's moving this week. I'm not sure when his first day is going to be, but it should be very soon. And they have a lead interpreter and cultural resource expert whose name is Emily Smithy. And she's been around the area here a little bit. She's been doing some volunteer work at the park so far. And she begins full-time February 1st. And she'll be kind of their main lead ranger for developing what their interpretive programs will be, or what their walking programs will be in the foreseeable future anyway. And then they have another full-time ranger who'll be coming aboard in March. So that'll have, I think, most of their permanent staff. At that point, they're going to have some seasonal help in the summertime also, so they'll have 4 or 5 people on staff through the summer doing interpretations and walking tours and developing programs through the Welcome Center and their other properties. The National Historical Park also has a Facebook and Instagram presence now. They just started that last month. And they have some upcoming meetings set up that are going to help determine kind of the direction for the park itself, what they'll be doing in terms of interpretation, and also a meeting that pertains to the historic structures report for the Amaro House, which is an ongoing process. There'll be several months in the making of them analyzing the house and its history, and then making a determination on what can be interpreted there as well. I think that's it in terms of Welcome Center National Park information.
The Welcome Center has always been attractive, and the new stuff in there, if you haven't been in there, it's really cool, going and take a look.
We get a lot of people who said they hadn't been there in a long time and realize how much more material is in there and things for them to look at and learn from. Any other questions or?
Yeah, what is this? Virtual Foundation Document Workshop, Stakeholder Session Meetings.
That, Chris set that up, and I guess those dates have been finalized. It's kind of like day-long meetings with all of the partners that are with the park, and I think they kind of go over different parts of what the park is going to be, what they're going to do there, and I think they're going to involve the partners into that kind of what the program should be. That's my sense of it. I know he's kind of trying to cast a very wide net to have a lot of voices involved in that, so that they can find out what the best direction is for the park and how to best complement what we do have in town already.
Yeah, okay, good. Okay, any other old business for the group? All righty, under new business, Missouri Marketing Grant for the first half of 2021. And I just mentioned right before we started that if you don't believe the power of social media, the museum was mentioned briefly in a Facebook post called Fun for Kids. And there were immediate results. I mean, there were people in the hundreds, numbering in the hundreds, that visited the museum between Friday and Sunday. And, prior to that, we've been getting, 12 people, 15 people on a good day. It's unbelievable, yeah.
Yeah, that's Fun for STL Kids, I believe was the website.
Yeah.
And they had the Facebook post, had, I think by Friday night, had about 1,900 comments, and I know through the weekend it got over 2,000 for comments, and about more than 4,000, close to 5,000 shares. And a lot of people that are commenting were essentially tagging other people, so, they're telling their friends about it that way, and that kind of keeps growing, kind of like the telephone tree of telling
Yeah.
your friend about it, so. And then they had a couple people who showed up, did put on reviews and put some pictures on of their visit, and also made some positive comments as well, so hopefully that's the kind of thing that'll lead to more traffic coming up.
That would be terrific, yeah.
The marketing grant, we are planning to utilize for social media. We had a campaign through Madden Media this fall that utilized the state grant money for some Facebook and Instagram posts that drew traffic to our website and also our Facebook pages, and we will be using the state funds for that as well. We're going to try to target a little bit based around whatever events are going to take place the first half of the year and different things we could promote. As I've listed on here, obviously the National Park is something we can continue to promote. The Museum Learning Center, when the water park gets ready to open, and when the Center for French Colonial Life begins their exhibit that they're going to have this year. We can use some targeted social media at those times to let people know what's going on, in addition to kind of just a general campaign as well. So our part of that's only going to be $963, and it's a 90-10 match, so the state will be putting in more than $8,000 in that program. I can just go through the list if you want me to keep going.
Yeah, why don't, just keep going, that's
So we
good.
have upcoming events are listed here. The Chocolate Walk is the next big thing on the agenda for February 6th. We have 18 merchants that are committed to participate in that and giving out chocolate samples. I know there's been some social media posting on that. We've had a link on our website through to where you can buy tickets, and we'll probably be doing some more with that here in the this week, posting some things to let people know about that. I know they had a lot of interest on Facebook, so there's over 500 people interested last I saw, so hopefully they're going to move towards selling out that again this year. I've had some phone calls about people wanting to know it's still going on, so I think that's the kind of event that should do well in terms of people want to get out and do something and be outside a bit and walk around. So King's Ball was canceled for this year, as was Prairie du Rocher's 12th night. I think in both instances, first of all, the band expressed some reservations about performing at those events. And I think that being in close quarters kind of thing and trying to gather hundreds of people obviously called for that to not take place at this time. We will have a photo display at the Welcome Center beginning February 11th to March 2nd. And that is related to the Bicentennial, so it's called the My Missouri 2021 photo display. It'll have 200 photos that were taken by amateur and professional photographers from different places around the state. So you got a photo from St. Genevieve that I saw on the online show, and some of the local, some photographers with local ties like Larry Braun and Gary Adams have some work on there. That'll be 4 kind of columns of photos. I imagine it's just kind of vinyl reproductions. We'll have them in the Welcome Center. Takes up about each of them are 4 foot by 4 foot wide, and then 8 foot tall. And so those will be between the diorama and where the JMTA bookstore is in there. And we are going to have that open on February 26th, which would be a 4th Friday Art Walk night. So we're going to stay open at the Welcome Center till 7 that night. I don't think the 4th Friday Art Walks are going to be taken off yet at that point in time, but we can hang around for those people who can't make it during the daytime and might want to check it out. But otherwise, it will be there 9 to 5 daily from February 11th to March 2nd. Col de Sadat is moving forward. They were in town this past weekend looking for a little place to conduct their lectures. In the past, they have been at the Welcome Center, but with our added exhibits, we don't believe we'd have the space for that type of crowd. In a normal year, it might be tight, and then definitely this year, if you want to have social distancing, we probably would not be able to do that in our location, so that they're looking for a place where they can have their lecture programs. And I will have to get back in touch with them, see what they found this past weekend, and then see what their options are. There are some in town. They looked at the museum. I think they were going to look at DeBerg and some places like that for potential places they could have those. And I think their final decision about going forward will be in March. I know pretty much all the events this year that I've talked to have kind of that point in time where they might have to make a call about whether they're going to continue to go forward or not. The garden walk down the list here was canceled. I have been in touch with them to try to see if they have any interest in coordinating something virtual. I think last year there was kind of a Facebook virtual garden walk that kind of took root on its own, and I don't know if the organizers want to try and find a way to make some parts of the garden walk happen. I mean, gardens are still going to be there. You can do things with photos still.
That'd be kind of cool. Yeah.
And then they could even do programs, educational programs online. 'Cause obviously they have some gardening expertise among their group there. Going back up on the 24th weekend of a Col de Soldat, Community Center also will have a Touch-a-Truck event out there at the, I think they're going to use the water park parking lot and park some heavy equipment, some emergency vehicles, and let families get up close for photo ops and stuff and take a look at some machinery they might not get a chance to see that close usually. The Chamber of Commerce put out, I call it Chamber of Concert, Chamber of Commerce put out their concert lineup the other day in their newsletter, and we'll start doing some promotion of that. They have a lot of the tribute bands this year for the most part. I think almost all but one or two concerts are tribute bands, including some new ones that'll play music of Kansas and Styx and Allman Brothers. Some of those will be taking place, well, one of those will be taking place the weekend of the Big Band cycling event, so some of those tickets might be made available to cyclists that come to town that weekend. And then there's a final note in there about Project Pioneer has canceled their plans for this year. Usually they involve a lot of meetings leading up to Jour de Fête, and so it's probably a good idea that they are going to hold off on those till 2022.
I know the hospital is planning some kind of Taste of St. Genevieve event. Is that a virtual thing or a? I mean, I don't know how you would do that virtually, but they're having some kind of planning for it. I don't know what exactly they've got going.
I think they have had some virtuals, because they usually have a black tie gala and things like that.
Yeah, yeah.
I think some of those have been virtual this year.
All right, thanks for that. Anybody have any questions or comments about upcoming events or anything else that you're aware of that we could put on the calendar or that you're aware of that we need to take off the calendar? Yeah,
Jour de
okay.
Fête still going as far as we know? Or since the
I
project
haven't
Pioneer?
heard anything one way or the other.
Yeah.
Okay. Still too way early to call.
Too early to know, yeah.
Okay. I just wondered, since Project Pioneer is usually a part of that, if it was going to be
Yeah.
canceled too.
I think Project Pioneer canceled last year before Jour de Fête did. And I
Okay.
think that's potentially, they can obviously coexist independently of each other. So,
Okay.
I know Jour de Fête is part of the opening ceremony, or Project Pioneer is part of Jour de Fête's opening ceremony, and then they do some activities. They have an exhibit, and they have a mass that weekend. I think Jour de Fête could move along without that component, and being it's the Bicentennial year, there might be some other things that can be moved into Jour de Fête this year too.
Okay.
All right. Okay, thank you. 2021 planning. I know we've had a lot of talk about branding and slogans and things like that. You know, it seems to me it almost doesn't matter what the slogan is as long as we are consistent. If we just keep hammering the same one over and over, it'll probably be okay.
And I did put one out in email as I was tinkering with some of the print materials for ahead of this meeting. Just an idea that had hit me around New Year's that I threw out there about this being the place where history is just the beginning, because we have more building off of that.
And I really like that.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah.
I do too.
Yeah.
I do too.
I don't know if the print committee met and if they like it, but I really like it.
I emailed things to print committees, or well, actually to everybody.
Yeah.
So, and I know Nicole's looking at some materials now and making some notes. And I actually printed or sent things to the partners that have a part in the print items so that they can review and make sure we have the right material for them. So, let's see, all of you hopefully have received a copy of the event card,
Right.
which would, this is an emailed copy. I didn't print any out just because I can pass them around, obviously. So this would be, the front side is going to list the events for the first 6 months of the year, because this year's kind of a fluid year, especially that I wouldn't want to go a whole year and try to predict what's going to happen 9-10 months from now. As it is on this one, this was with the garden walk on it, so that's something that'll have to be scratched a bit. And then on the last year, the 12 months were listed on both front and back, but without having the July through December listing, we can go ahead and feature some of the events that'll be coming up this year, which include the exhibit at the Center for French Colonial Life, the Touch a Truck, the photo exhibit, and the cycling event in June, the Big BAM event. And then we could do, I think I've got print quantities in here of being about, my recommendation would be 10,000 of these, and flood them throughout downtown wherever people stop, not just the Welcome Center, as well as put them in surrounding communities, hotels, Welcome Centers when they're open again, in all those locations. So that's, if you guys want to pass that around if you want
Yeah,
to.
I like that. I like those rack cards, and I like having something featured on the back. Yeah.
And then the other rec card, which would be kind of a replacement for the one that we have out there now, also sent around by email electronically, so you have a copy of this. This was revised from the meeting in December, change out the pictures, add a few more pictures, try to put some more stuff with some people in them, and reflect different things like shopping and, let's see, the water park with some different artwork, and I have a picture of Wine Country from Laura, and so that's kind of reworked a bit. I think I'm going to have a different picture from the Bull Duke, sent some new photos as well, so I have a chance to rework that on the back side. And then the third piece, which is the one I know Nicole's looking at currently, and I've sent around, like I said, to our partners as well as email to all of you, it's the Trifold piece that would be a fold out, which would have the downtown map with the shops in it. And it can be done a couple different ways. One, this is just 11 by 17 paper here, or you can do the glossy trifold, which would actually fold this down further, like that, and then with the cover overlapping like that. And that makes it a little easier to put in your pocket, and also put on display racks and things like that. So that is that. Now that's, I would say, still in an editing process. Like I said, I sent around to all the partners so they can tell me what changes need to be made in terms of the National Park and French Colonial America. I think there's one addition on the shops. The shops change. I've been here 6 months, and we've probably changed it every 6 to 8 weeks in terms of something changing with the shops or the restaurants. So when you get into printing a large quantity, they're going to be dated, but I think if we do, I think I had a number about 7,500 of those. It would probably last us into the summer, depending on our traffic numbers and how widely we distribute them. But I think that's another piece. If we print a lot of them, just have them throughout downtown, so people could pick them various places and have those for their availability. So
I like them. I like the text and I like the map. Now we have the same picture on there twice.
Right.
Is that deliberate?
I can swap that out for sure. I saw that was one of the few pictures of the church we have on our set, and it's also has people in kind of the French festival.
Right, yeah,
so
yeah, it's a nice picture. But
I will switch out the back of the second one. I got a new art museum picture from Carolyn Bach that I'll be switching out also. So it's one of those things that, as I mentioned to, I think, in an email to Nicole, that I was getting stopped by the lack of certain artwork that we had, so I figured I'd just forge ahead and get something out in front of people so they can look at it and then collect it and change, make changes, including artwork changes. with people's suggestions. I think there's a chance to get a NPS picture with a ranger and some people before that goes to print.
That would be good, yeah.
So those are the print materials so far. I do have one other piece that I'm looking at producing, and that's going to be kind of a larger brochure replacement. That'll be all encompassing for all the things the county has, from the wineries to the local historic attractions and the hiking opportunities and all those things. So that will probably be a 16 to 20 piece, 20 page booklet. That'll probably end up that same size, the 4x9 size. I know I looked at magazine sizes. You get some, gets a little more expensive, and then more expensive also in terms of shipping and distribution and having it on rack cards. So I think the best route will be the 4x9 booklet for that. So that all of our stuff will be matching sizes. I've been looking for a little bit different look on the fronts so that some are more focused to downtown and for the downtown guide, obviously, and then some more focused countywide with what the county has to offer.
I love that. It's like the brochure and the map, the walking map, everything, all in one.
Yeah, I do too.
So they're not carrying around a walking map, they're not carrying around a historic site paper, and they're not carrying the brochure. It's all at your fingertips.
It's hard when you try to put so much into a document. The pictures end up being small and the text ends up being small.
This is nice.
You know, and I mean, I wish there were a way we could make the font bigger and the pictures bigger, but there's just not enough room to do that. But
Unless you
I
give
do
them
like it.
a map the size of a regular road map. But this is nice. I love it.
Well, and if people had a giant, you know, then that's cumbersome. They can't walk.
Right.
with it.
The current one folds out to 12, bigger size than that, so it's, I think the current one's about 16 panels compared to 12. So and they get harder to fold the more forward.
Right.
you have to work with
Yeah.
too, so. That's what I had on the print stuff. If people want to shoot me emails or come by the office and or tell me to come to them and tell me what they want to tell me about it, then we can do that too. That's no problem at all. On the topic of print materials and the website, did want some guidance in terms of if we need to develop guidelines for what content and what businesses and places are represented. Kind of what came up this year was a former restaurant that we weren't sure whether it was going to be transforming to a restaurant or a bar, and whether that would, what qualifies them to be included both on the website and on our in our print products. And we have other businesses that are in the downtown district physically that aren't in that listing because of, I guess, what they sell would not be considered tourist related. And then we also have, like I said, we have a bar that has actually entertainment, but they have bands and stuff, so does that become a question of whether they should be included because they actually offer something like entertainment. So I don't know if anyone on the council has thoughts or how to approach those.
Well, we could probably have a separate meeting or a work session or a committee meeting to address those issues, because I know it becomes kind of a sticky wicket. I mean, I kind of am of the school that just include everybody, but that's probably not, that may not be everybody's idea. And then the brochure gets so cumbersome in the map that, but yeah, I don't know how everybody else feels about it. Anybody have any comments?
Well, like on the old walking maps, the DeBerg Center was listed, but people couldn't go in there. That's a venue that you.
Well, yeah, that's
for a special event.
something
So
you have to-
that's, I guess, is that what you're talking about?
Well, or particular bars, certain restaurants, other, an insurance office. I mean, whatever's
Right.
downtown.
Shoe
even
store,
if-
I have a shoe store down there.
Shoe store, yeah, tourists are not necessarily
Right.
looking for that.
So if it's on a tour thing, a tour guide, it should be tourist related. Is that basically what you think?
Yes. And I don't know if we want to have rules or a group that says this is what's considered tourist related, and this isn't.
So wouldn't the other stuff kind of fall under the Chamber of Commerce?
Well, if they chose to be members, yeah.
Okay. Okay.
I mean, obviously, the new place on Washington Street opened up, and we weren't certain for a while exactly if it's going to be food and drink, or just drink, or what they're going to be doing there. And because they're serving food, we include them in our...
In the dining.
in here and on the website, too, as an option for place to eat, so. But if you're here on a Friday night and you want to go see a band, do you know about the sandbar, or should you know about the sandbar as an option to do that, so. That's the kind of question.
Right.
Work session.
It's a lot of gray area.
It
It
is.
is.
Maybe you're here on a girls' weekend and you want to know where to get your nails done. Or, you know, a florist typically isn't touristy, but our florists happen to have a lot of
Yes.
merchandise, yeah.
Mhm.
So,
Or you need a new pair of shoes because you ruined yours while you were on vacation.
I've had people ask for any number of things.
Yeah.
Where can I buy XYZ?
Right,
You know?
right.
And sometimes I have to really scratch my head and think.
Well, yeah, because it's 20,
I don't
it's
know,
20
but-
miles either way,
Yeah.
you know, to either Farmington or
Yeah.
Perryville
Uh-huh.
to get something,
You know,
so.
so, well, I guess we need a work session.
I
or,
agree.
You know, pick a date and talk about, because I kind of, you know, I'm okay with everybody being in there.
is
but
there a defined historic district?
There is,
Are you sure? Because I don't think so.
and as far as zoning and planning there is, and as far as national parks there is, and part of it is quite large. It goes all the way out Market Street.
Yeah, I was going to say, are there two overlays for that? One's a landmark district and one's
One's historic.
historic, yeah.
Yeah.
And then, well, obviously, this map only goes as far as Fifth and, yeah, to the north as far as Washington, and then out west of Fifth Street. So there are some things along Market that aren't included. At least the one Airbnb I know of isn't included there. That's, I guess, spa, salon type place. So, work session. All right, we'll put it down for a topic.
Yeah.
Let's see, next thing I have, as I mentioned, the Bicentennial year is upon us, and I think the state is looking at August 10th for kind of a statewide celebration that will include an ice cream social component. So I think you've been informed about that already.
I have. I don't quite know what to do with it, but I like it.
And I know that Felix Valley has talked about doing something that day as well, so.
With ice cream?
Just in general,
Oh, okay.
a bicentennial type of, an event that could complement the ice cream part of it, so. I think they're kind of in early planning stages for what things look like this year with them, obviously, with the state kind of in the situation it's in currently with COVID, so they haven't been open for a bit.
Is that Jurfet weekend, if there is
Well,
Jurfet?
the Tuesday would be the 10th, and then, yes, the Jurfet weekend would follow
Okay.
that, so that's an opportunity there to pull them together, I think.
Right.
In addition, there is, at some point, we'll be doing the Bicentennial Plaza in the parking lot across from Sweet Things there, and they are planning to do a plaza that honors John Scott, who served in the House of Representatives at the time Missouri became a state. And so I think at some point this year, there'll be a ceremony related to that, taking into account the Bicentennial.
Yeah, I think they poured the concrete pad for that, and it's going.
So
Well,
if anyone has
And
ideas.
the foundation has planted a tree in this
Oh.
Memorial Cemetery for
In-
John Scott too.
In memory of John Scott, yeah.
And we'll have some kind of an event.
Yeah, if anybody knows of anything or has ideas of how to implement some bicentennial into our current events or new events, then we can get some more publicity through those. The State Historical Society has a portion of their website where they're dedicated to bicentennial events, and they list them all, so anything that we can get going on
Yeah.
those.
We have a list of suggestions. Do you have those?
Give that list.
a list of suggestions.
For our bicentennial events.
Okay,
Yeah, it
yes.
was
I
really,
think I've seen
yeah,
that.
we had it was like 20 some odd or 30.
Yeah, and it
names.
was things like the muni band could, one week have, play music from
Missouri type things.
Missouri, or music from the era when the Constitution was written, or 1821 Missouri became a state, yeah. But there was a whole list.
I think I have stumbled across it, so.
Okay. Yeah, some of them were kind of labor intensive, and some
I
of them
know,
were sort of easy
I think
things.
marathon was included in there.
Yeah, but some things were kind of easy.
I think I have a copy of it in some of my old
Oh, I
notes.
think I probably have a copy of it right here, but Toby, I'm sure has one.
I thought we talked about it in September.
I have a copy somewhere. I know it exists. Yeah, Megan has one. She'll get one for Toby if he can't find his.
I'm sure it's on the computers down there somewhere. And then next on the list here, I've got the Big Bam cycling event, which is coming to town on June 18th. There's kind of a fairly detailed amount of information here in terms of my last phone conversation with the organizer, who is coming to town in February, expecting at least have 100 cyclists already signed up and ready to ride. Should be in the range of 250 or so when the event actually rolls out of Poplar Bluff on June 14th. People will be coming here, because St. John will be the final stop on the 18th. They'll be coming here on the 13th, many of them to take a shuttle to Poplar Bluff. So they're planning to help us promote the French Festival and anything we have going on that weekend that'll bring people to town a little earlier before they head to Poplar Bluff and take their bike ride back up to St. Genevieve. So among the logistical things we'll have to look at is a place to park 60 to 80 cars for the week. Where also they will need a tractor-trailer truck to be able to take their gear, and the gear will travel separately, and then the shuttle will take all the riders down to Poplar Bluff. And then they will come back here on Friday the 18th, arriving anywhere between 10 a.m. and 6 p.m. because of, it's one of those events, it's not a race, it's just kind of a ride at your own pace thing, and they'll be going from Farmington here on 2 different routes. One of them will be 37 miles, that'll be like 63 miles. So some people will go really fast and get done with it. Some people may stop at wineries on the way in, drink some wine, and continue on the bike ride, so.
That could be a long, last few miles.
One of the routes goes
right
by
past us,
Cape
yeah.
Road there, so, yep.
I'd kind of like to see that.
And then when they
That
get
might
here, they
some
get
good
2
Bible
free,
video, huh?
You gotta stand out on the side of the road.
Pass out samples, yeah.
when they get here, they also get 2 free beers, which I guess they'll have a beer tent down in the Jour de Fête grounds as the finishing point.
After the wine. Maybe they need 2
And
free coffees.
so they'll have a check-in there, they'll have a shower trailer, and then their goal is to have those people stick around town. There'll be a campsite set up for those who want to do that. I think they've given them information about all the hotels and bed and breakfast options. And then they're going to try to, they encourage us to have an event that'll help lure them around town, live music. They have some money that can help out with live music. And we'll be looking at some food and drink options and vendors possibly. There's been talk about having the trolley help move people around town from Jour de Fête Park up through the downtown and circle around that day. So those are kind of some of the things we'll have to manage for that event. So if anybody wants to volunteer to help out in those regards with any type of coordination of the event or helping pull some of that stuff together.
Are the cyclists Missouri people, or are they from everywhere? Or
From everywhere, apparently. Yeah,
Wow.
they've said it's not just Missouri. People will come here just to ride this thing for 5 days. And they cover about 60 miles a day on average. And I guess they have time, and this is what they want to do for fun.
Oh.
But yeah, let's say people all over from throughout the region, so.
Cool.
So if anybody wants to volunteer to help out in any aspects, feel free to drop me a line and I'll put together a group that'll help out with things. I've also put on here a list of different ideas for the month of December because it gets pretty quiet after the holiday Christmas festival, I think, and we need to possibly consider ways we can stretch that momentum out through the month some. In the past, I know, speaking of past idea lists, there was a meeting goes back a couple of years that came up with one of the priorities of being a Christmas village or Christkindl market type of concept. I don't know, I mean, that's something we could look at. It takes quite a bit to set up something like that, but incrementally it might be something we could get towards with that or with the other aspects like carolers or more musical events through the month, lights displays. I've talked to Perryville, their Christmas church tour comes into St. Genevieve a little bit. They hit St. Mary's and then Kaskaskia as part of their group. I think they were down in their number of churches this year because of the coronavirus situation, and she has promised them if she's going to grow it, it's going to be a slow process to continue to grow that. So they're in no hurry to add a bunch of churches, but something we might want to look at down the road is trying to either work with them and make that a longer church tour or talk with the churches in our area about having something along similar lines. It seems like a very popular event down there. I know people came through here that week and even before that week talking about going down for that church tour.
Well, and that's, there are a lot of churches on that church tour. You can't do it all in one.
They had 18 or 19 this year, and that's down from the usual number.
Yeah, and it's really hard to see all of them in one fell swoop anyway.
Or what's a self-guided? I thought you got on a bus or something.
Well, there have been buses that have taken people, but it's also a self-guided tour.
Oh.
And it covers a lot of miles.
It's big.
Yeah. So it's almost impossible to do it all in one fell swoop, yeah.
It's a shame they can't just do that throughout the month of December so that you could
Well, and I
go
think
at
it's
your own pace.
Yeah, and I think it's probably, it's a matter of having volunteers.
Exactly.
Churches, yeah.
People on duty in the churches just for safety purposes.
Right.
And a lot of them have candles and, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I understand why it's just it's a 2-day event, 3-day?
Yeah, 2 days.
2-day event.
Thursday,
yeah.
Friday this year.
Yeah.
afterwards, yeah.
Yeah.
But they have, like I said, people, in normal years, they'll hand out cookies or might have refreshments, and then they might have a choir singing and that kind of thing, so.
Down in Cape, they always did the Lutheran Christian Family Services Christmas House Tour, that you would have to buy a ticket to go see certain people's homes
Yeah.
that were all decorated, and then that money goes to the, one of their charities or whatever.
Yeah.
We could maybe do that on a historical front, or, we're a small enough town, maybe.
Yeah,
If
a
the
church
COVID
tour is a free event.
Right.
I mean, they accept donations at every location.
Right.
But, yeah.
But just so that people like to see how other people decorate things. Another thing is the Moses Austin Park. Maybe there's already electric boxes down there. We could set up some kind of like a little walk-through light display, like businesses in town could rent a small space, like they have the drive-through park in Cape or Jackson. But that's so small, I don't know if you'd want cars backing up all through town. But if it was a walk-through, lighted, lit-up display.
That'd be kind of cool.
Walking through a little lit wonderland. And people would pay, so much, because when you go the ones in Cape and Jackson, it's businesses that have, they're advertising, but they've got a little display of lights with their advertisement. So it's a good way to advertise. Plus it makes the town look Christmassy. Or do it up at Paramarquette Park where you could drive through it. I don't know.
Not that we want to lift their ideas, but might spark something of our own. I know St. Charles has stuff every weekend.
Every weekend.
At Christmas time.
Yeah, I'm not sure completely what they have. I know, actually, one of the things I've made a note of on here, I think Sean Long had sent an email regarding that, mentioned they have stuff going on all the time, and that they have people in character that hand out trading cards and things like that. And one of the ideas he'd mentioned was that doing it like characters like St. Nicholas, and I think you mentioned another one, Father
Careful
River.
Tard.
Yeah.
That'd scare him to death.
And I know Felix Valley has a person come in and do Père Noël during the holiday Christmas festival, and then obviously you have Santa Claus. You could have more with characters and things like that.
Just strolling the streets and handing out candy canes or,
I think at St. Charles, they all get paid. You know, those are all paid. I mean, I don't know who pays them, the Chamber of Commerce or the city or somebody, but, you know, there's Snowflake, and they have probably half of it, well, probably more than that,
Yeah.
characters that do that.
So we need to pay them.
Yeah.
But it might be worth bringing in a vendor. So I think they have don't they have people serving, like hot cider or something?
spice cider, maybe the cinnamon roasted nuts.
Yeah, something.
Just smelling that on the street drives you crazy.
Yeah.
You could probably get that out of, I don't know if the downtown merchants would want to rotate things like that to do a hot cider and cookies or things like that on those weekends, or.
We'll bring it up tomorrow morning.
There. All right. I think that's about everything I did have. Down at the end of this table here, there's copies of the Daily Journal, has a calendar that came out this year. They were putting advertisers in the top spots up here, and we worked with a couple of businesses, including Sassafras Creek and Sweet Things, to put the month of February. Has St. Genevieve presence on that. No.
Oh, yeah, that's actually really nice. I didn't realize I signed up for that. I mean, I remember doing it, I just didn't remember what it was going to be in.
You're getting the bill for it soon.
I'm sure.
Then also at the end of the table, there's a box with the Missouri travel guides for this year, which my staff went ahead and hit all the highlights where St. Genevieve's mentioned. So we have a couple advertisements in here, kind of a 2 for the price of 1 ad, and they had a couple extra mentions because the Bicentennial with St. Genevieve in the oldest city has a couple extra mentions in there as well. So a lot of references to St. Genevieve in the travel guide. You can grab one out of the box down there if you want at some point. And another thing for tomorrow, Candy, I know I sent you guys, I think, a PDF of that I picked up in Jefferson County. Had a bingo thing.
That's so cool.
We call it Jeffco January is the hashtag. So you go to the different stores and hit those and can turn it into a chance to win a prize. So that's all I had.
I love it. It's so cool. It's one of those, why didn't I think of that things?
I think the last thing in your packet is the quotes that's for the Tourism Tax Commission to kind of look at the bids for these different printing materials. So.
Right.
But that's everything on the list that I had.
Okay. And we have possibility of bylaw changes, is that correct?
Yeah, we've been discussing in-house about looking at changing differences of the way things are structured at this point between TTC, which has the tourism tax, TAC is just advisory. And so we're kind of doubling up on what everybody's job is as well. Because you've got 5 people on tourism tax, and you've got 9 people here. So we have started to work on the bylaws part of it, that I'd like for everybody to take some time to look at and read, and trying to combine the two, that we think would then streamline going from one meeting to the next. And instead of Toby coming here and saying, here's the cards we're going to buy, or getting your input on those, but you have to take it to another board to get it approved, and kind of streamline some of that. And also change the way tourism tax is structured, in that it could become more event-oriented or assistance-oriented, where people come and ask for assistance to have a certain event or activity take place, if it's a tourism-centered type of activity. So in exploring this, we've come up with these changes for both groups to discuss and look at. So I don't want to get into it too deep because it was just in the packet, If you want to read it, try to understand it, next meeting, we'll go through it in depth.
Okay, all right. And I think changes were highlighted in red, yes?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, thank you for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, does anybody else have anything to bring to the table?
Motion for adjournment?
If not, this meeting stands adjourned, yeah. All right, thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Again? New meeting, right? Okay. Pledge allegiance. Okay,
Mike Pollard,
here.
Lawrence Myers, Jack Ketting.
Here.
Nicole French. Here. Dee Patel. Here. And Susan Johnson. Here.
Looks like she's with us.
You have a quorum.
All right. Approval agenda.
So moved.
Second, please.
Second.
And you all have a copy of the previous minutes. We'll take a minute to look over those.
You did vote on it, Jen. You did vote on it, Jen.
He just did.
Oh, yeah, I didn't call for a vote, did I?
Yeah, sorry.
Okay, so we had a first and a second on the agenda. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thanks, Toby.
No,
Keep you straight over there.
been lots of meetings.
Yeah, yep.
Motion to approve prior minutes.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And we have the agenda minutes approved from 17th. My, how time flies. How was everybody's holidays? Have some financial reports in front of you. A couple months have been added, I guess. Let me see here. October took a hit from last year, didn't it? In December. Hmm.
Actually, last year, the sales tax numbers are fairly close. I think they're down about 10 to 12% for the last 4 months of the year. Last year, we didn't have a Rural Heritage either because of the rain. And then we had the Pecanapalooza popped up this year.
Mhm.
And I think the Christmas festival numbers were probably fairly close, all things considered.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it is more reflecting more day trip people and fewer long distance travelers, probably in the lodging tax at the moment.
Has your lodging been down, Dee? Okay, I'll look for a motion if there's no questions on the finances.
So moved.
Second, please.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Old business, further discussion and role of the TTC, TAC, presentation discussion of the bylaws.
So you've got a copy of what we've looked at, redrafting. We talked about this at the last meeting, about the purpose of tourism tax, and if it, I have a view, everybody's kind of got a view, we just don't want to double up on what we're doing between TAC and TTC. But my view, or my vision of the tax commission is that you could become more of an incentive type of group, or a group that would help with, encourage tourism by sponsoring events, or being a partial sponsor of events, or helping with activities, things that people would have to bring to you to say, these are the items that we think, this is what we're going to do. It's going to bring tourism in town. This is what our vision is. This is what we have seen. or this is what we have done and what we think we can either grow on or continue to build on, instead of just looking at cards and different materials that we've been doing as a tax commission, leaving that mostly to either, the city's funds that we do that with, or, it can be a part of it. It's just that, I think, we have this pot of money that is from, people coming into town. Well, let's try to encourage people coming in and staying,
Right.
which is where that tourism tax comes from, and trying to gear it towards activities that would encourage something like that. The obvious example is your effect because it's 2 days long. But why not? That we have that. What else can we do? If you could do a 2-day Christmas festival on one of the weekends when you don't have the parade, you bring people into town. If we could, if you get a group that wants to start something like that, why not help them along with it? But they have to come to you and request that and prove that it's, give you enough information where you think you're comfortable with helping to co-sponsor it. And it also gets the name out as, with the Tourism Tax Commission. Whether that's important or not, I don't know. In Festus, we did promote that the Tourism Tax Commission was a sponsor. It was an important piece of what that group wanted to do. They wanted that to be known because they felt it was important for the taxpayers to see that their money was being used for something that was increasing tourism, and it was, kind of a showing them that they were responsible with that money and using it to good effect. Residents get to use it to enjoy an activity like everybody else.
Makes sense.
So we kind of started rewriting what the bylaws are, so that we're not in conflict with something along those lines, and dress them up a little bit based on state statute. Mike and I, Toby and the mayor sat down and kind of hashed out some things. Bob Mueller has been instrumental in helping because he has the history of everything, understands it. He's also helped to rewrite these. So there are some changes in there. I can go through each change individually if you want me to. They're highlighted if they were copied in red or copied in color. We've kind of articulated what we want in membership. So you're looking, if you're active in the tourism industry, you can do somebody that's preferably historic home or building open for tourism. And the second member of the tourism industry, preferably a restaurateur. Member number 4, member of local business interests, is some downtown merchant. Member of general business interests, that would just be any business in St. Genevieve. What's in there is based on what state statute is. We've kind of defined it a little bit more narrowly to try to find those folks that can be involved. Dee is going to be on here forever, because she's in the hotel motel. So if you go to the next page, item C, we have defined that the tourism director is the city staff advisor for the commission, so that you know if you have some particular question, he is the person they come talk to, and he will be attending meetings. And then we go to, let's see, Article 5, talking about the meetings. There was a particular day that you were supposed to be meeting, which is on the first Wednesday. This is not the first Wednesday. So we've made that a little more general, so you can move those meetings to whenever it's convenient. For the order of business, there was nothing in there for public comments. We've included that, which is generally in all of our meetings. There's under Article 8, number 5, there's supposed to be an annual report to the mayor and board of aldermen. They get that information generally from the treasurer anyway for whatever our revenue and expenditures are. So they are receiving that information, but if you want to submit something more detailed, you can, but what we want to talk about is budget. This year, if you'll remember, I kind of came in and said, here's what we have made. We've made 18,000, let's spend 17, let's go with that. What we would like to do is make that a little more particular, if you want to narrow it down some, but I want this group to have say in that. So you need to meet beforehand. Toby passes on what that budget should be. for tourism tax, and then we submit that to the board when we submit all the rest of our budget items. And then under authority and powers, item B, let's see, yeah. The next page, item B, Tourism Commission shall meet quarterly, unless you want to meet monthly. We've inserted so it's not taxed by meeting every month. Meet quarterly to determine expenditure of funds budgeted by the Board of Aldermen with input from the Tourism Director. The Commission may meet with prospective groups and organizations to determine if an event or activity qualifies as promoting tourism in the community, and if the event or activity is eligible for sponsorship. All expenditures of funds authorized by the Commission shall be approved by the Director of Tourism for compliance to city policy and applicable laws prior to issuance after review of submitted expenditure request. The Director of Tourism will approve all invoices for Commission contracts or agreements prior to being submitted to the city treasurer for payment. What we're looking at is a reimbursement type of activity as well. It's not we give somebody money, it's you bring your idea to us, we agree to be a sponsor, co-sponsor, but then you still have to spend your money and then reimburse so that we can double check and make sure it's being used for the proper purposes. And that's it.
That's good, a good start, Happy, appreciate it.
Yeah,
One other thing is just to kind of pass on, we've also looked at with Tourism Advisory, is including tourism tax as part of the Tourism Advisory Council. So you have a 9-member commission, including 5 members from this board, and then 4 other members. We've talked about doing that. So you would actually meet roughly at the same time, but then you'd have only 5 members that could vote for tourism tax type of activities. So.
Did you say, I'm sorry, at the beginning of that, did you say we also thought about that?
We discussed that.
In other words,
And it was included in what I gave to the Tourism Advisory Council. We had looked at 5 members of the tourism tax being a part of that group.
Right.
Plus 4 other members for advisory. Or you can go up to 11, you can go up to 13. You can expand that if you think there's more people that need to be involved. More disciplines too. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
You mentioned at the last meeting, Happy, about in the advisory committee about talking about it some more at their next meeting. Not to meeting things to death, but with this kind of a change, do you think some discussion on a side meeting might be appropriate to specifically go over this?
I think if you can discuss it tonight, you can discuss it at a future meeting. I don't know if you need a side meeting. So much as just, where do you want to go this direction? If not, we can still clean up what the bylaws are and go from there.
Yeah, they still need to be cleaned up. I agree with that. So what would be the role then or would there be a advisory committee?
It's been adopted by ordinance, so it exists. It can continue to exist. But what do we see it existing as? If we change the form of this group, should we change the form of the advisory council as well, if they wish to do that, and if the board wishes to, adopt the new bylaws? So there's a number of steps to go through before anything would actually change.
Right. Okay. Okay. Good. Thank you.
Sure.
Any more discussion or conversation on that? Going in the right direction? What are your thoughts? Anybody?
I like the idea, and I think we're, to kind of streamline and combine, I think is a good move. I think this is.
I think so too, because, new ideas, new people, we can try it.
I think we keep down some of the redundancy of information.
Right.
Obviously, there's a lot of
Well, right. Yeah.
information to try to give everybody, and hopefully have TAC have more direct influence with their advice into more decision-making that's made.
I think it'd be more Thank you for more to take.
So where do we go then? What's the next step?
If you want to approve the recommended changes, then we could look at taking those to the board. Unless there's some other changes you want, or you want to look at it before you meet the next time.
Yeah, I kind of would like to go through it again. That's kind of why I mean, there's some specific wording and stuff. I hate to, I mean, it's great start, but I'd kind of like to go through it a little bit in a little bit more detail. But I don't know that needs to be done at the next meeting, or if that's why I was kind of saying recommending maybe a working group to go through it.
If you want, technically you can only have 2 of your 5 members meet as a commission, so to speak. So if you want to do that, you can. If you want to all submit what your suggestions, recommendations are, we can then incorporate that.
Nicole, what do you think? Put you on the spot.
All right, thanks. I don't have any issues with it. I mean, we don't have a restaurateur on our board right now, currently. None of us are restaurateurs, so I don't know if we need to seek that out. It would be nice to have the input of someone that owns.
You're not a restaurant? It's right by lunch, it's a lot of days.
A lot of people do just choose to eat candy or lunch, but I am not a restaurateur.
Well, and that's kind of what I was wondering, in a perfect world, so do you see happy where that might start tying our hands a little bit?
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I started to say in a perfect world, that's what we would have, but you might not always have that opportunity.
Right.
I think you can stay with the state definitions, and then we can encourage ourselves to look, or try to invite those folks and see if they'll be a part of it. Everybody knows, everybody's busy.
That's where the wording can be, and you already have that. It says preferably.
Right.
Yeah.
There are certain words. The quarterly thing, for instance, meet quarterly. I think that should be. I think that should say shall meet at least quarterly. Words like that. So in other words, it doesn't say quarterly. Well, what if we want to meet more than that? You know what I'm saying? I hate to get too specific, but sometimes, I think that those are the kind of little things that we might want to go through.
Because you could put quarterly, and then you could put, or at the request of the chairman or something, but if you say.
Right, or as decided by,
Yeah, but if you want to put more than, or at least quarterly, then we know what the minimum is, and then you can add to that.
Yeah.
My feeling kind of is that the quarterly meetings could be there's a lot, I think there's going to be a lot, with any hope. There's going to be more things to talk about in tourism over the next few years, right? If it does what we all hope it's going to do, I mean, especially with the national park in town, et cetera, there's going to be a lot to talk about. So the way I kind of envision it was if this commission maybe met, especially if we're going to have a little bit more participation with the public, et cetera, I think that maybe we meet every other month with the quarterly opening the meetings to the however you have it worded in here for people to have their proposals.
Right.
Maybe that could be quarterly. But we'd have meetings in between that on whatever months, however that falls out. So those are the kind of things. I mean, I don't want to keep this meeting going forever, but just got some ideas, I guess.
It's an item that we include or don't include on the agenda.
Yeah.
So,
Yep. Absolutely. Yeah.
And
Okay.
it depends on if we get requests or if people submit stuff. We'll have to draft an application for people to be able to do that. And then if there's nothing that comes in, we don't have to do anything unless there's an application on the
That's true.
table.
That's true. Yeah.
Who's spreading the word about hey, you can
Well, we
apply
haven't,
for this money?
obviously,
Like,
we
is
haven't,
it just
you
gonna
know,
be in the
spread that
paper,
word
or?
yet, but if these get adopted and approved by the board, right,
Right.
then at that point, it would be,
It'll get around.
kind of like, yeah, kind of like it did kind of like it did whenever the band grants started several years ago. I think word gets around pretty quick that, anytime there's possible funding available. But, it's something that I think that the city would promote.
Yeah, we do Facebook, we promote it with the different groups, organizations. It would, I don't think there would be an issue with getting it advertised, and getting it out there.
Right. And then who's in charge of like drafting the application for said money?
So it's gonna be us
The
that comes
city
up with the.
or this
yeah,
group?
Yeah. I mean, we'll draft it, you'll approve it if you want. So any application that we have on file here has not been approved by the Board of Aldermen. We just draft an application. If you want to have some input on that, then I just need to know. We'll bring you the application. Otherwise, you just receive applications as they're submitted. All your tenant paperwork.
The band grant application is about 2 pages. What do you plan to use the funding for? And how does it fit the mold of public free music type thing? So, not a lot to it, but it does ask you what you're planning to use it for.
Do those get denied often?
Do they get denied?
I don't think we have yet, or they have yet. I don't think they've had a request over what their allotment is either, so.
Okay. Yeah, obviously I encourage everybody to take a close look at it. If you have any inputs at all, please. I was going to say email me or Happy, but really, Happy sent it out. We could reply to the email, give him your inputs, and then I think what we'll do is Happy, I'll just be in touch with you here in the coming days and see what kind of, if you received any more input back in the next week or two.
Yeah.
And then, you and I can go through it too. But appreciate the work that you and others have done on it, you and Toby and whoever else helped with it. I think it is something that needs to be looked at, and like Sarah said, kind of streamline some things, I think. Good, thank you.
There was a thing where, I think I mentioned Happy, that we used to have like a quarterly evening town hall type of tourism meeting. And ideally, enough information is getting out to people, and if they want information, I certainly will get it out to them, but I try and keep regular contact with the merchants and different stakeholders about things, so. But I'd like to have more people come to the meetings too.
I think and hope we might all be surprised what it looks like in a couple few years.
It's just because of COVID, I'm pretty sure a lot of people won't come, but because of COVID, they.
Well, now, yeah, but I also see it. I also see tourism just being
It's going to boom this year, that's what I hear, so. Good for our town.
Takes us to new business, I believe.
Yes, so I've shared the materials for rack cards, event cards, and the downtown brochure, and then I have in the packet here a kind of a summary of the bids we have received for printing various items, which actually reflects 3 different bidders for the 3 different types of items that we're looking to print. One being the event card, which in the past is used in black and white, usually just text. But because of some changes this year with trying to keep it to just 6 months and highlight some of the things that are happening in the first 6 months of the year, we have room for some graphics that we can put to dress it up a little more, bring a little more attention to it. And the color costs from Waymire Printing locally is very competitive with black and white printing from some of the other places here. So I think it's something we could look at, doing 10,000 copies in color and saturating through downtown and regionally and letting people know what's going to take place here in St. Genevieve this year. It is on it. Oh, the Probably not. There's that.
You have another one?
Yes.
Okay.
There's kind of a summary on those.
Okay.
Did you not get any quotes from Midwest Marketing in Bloomsdale?
I did not. I had not gotten their numbers, no. I can make sure I get in touch with them also.
Where is the Washington, Missourian printing facility?
Facility,
Where-
it's in Washington, Missouri, yeah.
Okay.
They've printed material for me when I was with the Herald, and actually I've printed some of the downtown maps on occasion. They're inexpensive, the only issue kind of a turnaround time with them, because for free delivery, they'll bring it to us once a week. And so if I need maps quickly, then it's too much trouble to go to them. Sometimes we get tight on maps on busy weekends, so.
Sure.
But if I have a larger, if I know ahead of time and have them print, then they do it pretty inexpensively, and we'll do free delivery.
Is the printing company out of Farmington?
That is, they took over for the Cape Girardeau, Southeast Missourian, so they do printing in Cape, and Prairieville and Farmington is where their offices are, so they'll free deliver us also, because we're considered in their circulation area. Waymire, as mentioned, is local. CTM does our rec cards currently, and they handle both the distribution and the printing on those. So part of, they actually have a good number when it comes to the 4x9 color cards, which, like I said, they do those already currently for us. And what they would do is deliver to their warehouse in St. Louis, and then they would go ahead and disperse them under the contract that we have with them for distribution to the hotels and welcome centers throughout Missouri. So on the 4x9 glossy rack cards, their cost there is the lowest one, and it includes that they would keep those in St. Louis and distribute them, but we could also, they're up in St. Louis County, I could go pick up a box sometime and bring them down here and have them for distribution also.
Sure.
But they would do, on the glossy color cards, they can do 25,000 of those for $751. And then the third item, the fold, trifold guides, as mentioned, Washington, Missourian can do those at the cheapest price if we want to do glossy trifolds. The option below that was to do just 11x17. Currently, the downtown map is on stock paper,
Right.
which also allows us to make changes on it more frequently. Like I said, with Missourian, so if we run low, we're down to, say, 10 on a weekday, I'll make the changes and send them up. And we do those fairly frequently because the restaurants change out, or the stores might change out, or they might just change their contact information. So if we do lock in and do 7,500 of those at that figure, that would probably get us into the summer, probably late summer, before we run through all those.
When were you hoping to go to print on this?
I'd like to get everything by the end of January.
To approve and go to print?
Yeah. Yeah, I still have some changes on the event card. Going to change some artwork with regard to the exhibit at the Center for French Colonial Life and some of the wording there. On this piece, I think I'll try and look through some different picture and the national park spot on there, and then with the trifold, there are some updates coming both with the national park, with the Bolduc House, and there's a picture change coming on here with Bolduc House also, and some wording changes with Bolduc. I think one of the shops also had a wording change.
Does it go out to all the, I mean, was it approved by individuals?
I've sent all the, that's what I said, I got changes to NPS and Bolduc. I've sent all the stakeholders that are listed on their historic attractions and the museum, and the change with the church, and the art museum did send me another picture, more updated picture for their building also. So yeah, I mostly wanted to get it out there so people could
Mhm.
give them feedback, and then see what changes we want to make. So, and hopefully that's something we can wrap up in the next week or so and get it out to printers.
I kind of agree with Nicole, though. I think maybe we ought to get a bid from the Midwest. Wouldn't take them long, I don't think, to get you a bid, and we could, kind of still keep things on track. If we need to have a special meeting to vote on that, once we get the rates, or if we can do that over email,
If I email them, we can probably do an email meeting on that.
Yeah. Yeah,
Special meeting.
Yeah,
we could hold up.
yeah.
I mean, to get it out, would you all be opposed to having a quick meeting to vote on that?
Yeah.
I'd rather do that than not get it and push it out. So why don't you get a quote from them, and as soon as you do, let us know. We'll get together one evening real quick and vote on that.
I will do that.
So
Set
Joel,
up a Zoom call if people don't want to come in.
Yeah, that's true too. That's true. We could do a quick Zoom meeting.
Zoom, yeah.
I like that idea.
Just
Have
give
you
us 24
seen-
hours to advertise.
Yep.
Have you seen product samples from all these?
Familiar with, well, Waymire did our event cards in the past.
Okay.
The printing company has dropped off some materials, but they're on the high side for most of
Right.
those things I heard. CTM has done our color rec cards in the past,
Sure.
and the Missourian has done a mix of things, including the downtown map. And they did a brochure that we used as part of the state grant program that went out in the fall, a Trifold type of thing.
Okay.
So what have we spent money on traditionally? The event, the rack cards, obviously, right?
Yes. I don't think this panel has done the printing cost in the past. I think these numbers, I think is a little less than what they've been in the past, because it seems like it's been a large production, I think both from graphic approval and putting it all together. 'Cause if you're having someone else do the graphics work, it can increase the cost.
Yeah.
a bit too.
And do you see the trifolds only being distributed here in town?
This is going to be a downtown map and guide. I think we could distribute it elsewhere, but we're also going to we're working on a booklet that I hope to have done. That's going to be a bigger piece with more to it. That'll have, so our current fold-out brochure, which is bigger than that, has a recreation area. So it has the hiking trails and winery listing. So a booklet would include that. There's a few more details and maybe some
The booklet would replace the
with the trifold, the fold-out, yeah. Everything, the trifold fold-out.
Yeah, I like those. Yeah.
I think it also gives us room to expand on the national park. In a booklet, I think I could foresee it being almost a two-page spread. Here's the properties, here's some words about them. Same with French Colonial America. Here's your properties, here's some words, and you flip the page. You got the state, Felix Valley. You've got the Keyboard Valley and the cemetery. I kind of have something in mind that goes out to about 16 to 20 pages, depending what you want, how much listing you want to do with shops and restaurants and that kind of thing.
I kind of see this staying in town, don't you all?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, there's no reason, I don't think. Sarah, did you all talk about that? There's no reason to have this in rack
Right.
distribution.
Right, the map needs to be
Right.
here.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I like it though, great job.
Yeah,
I think this
yeah.
is,
Who did the map?
A gentleman named Bill Beard, who, one of the concepts I saw for mapping came out of Hannibal, Missouri, and he did one for Hannibal that's kind of similar. He worked with that group. I wanted that kind of landmark piece
Right.
where you can see you're on the street, here's the church, here's
Yeah,
Audubon's,
Yeah,
things
yeah.
to help you.
Big
mark them.
improvement.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is awesome. Yeah. Nice job.
All right, so I'll get more numbers, and then we'll be able to take some action on more numbers.
Yeah. And then, any input, I know, on the rack cards, any more discussion on that? Y'all like the way that's looking? I know, Nicole, you had, how do you think it's looking compared to before?
The only thing I'm going through on this right now is there's just some typos and stuff that I'm trying to
And you
identify.
got a copy of this piece also, right?
In the email,
Mhm.
yeah.
If you have thoughts, send them my way. I did swap out, I don't know if you were here when I was talking to TAC about swapping out some of the photo stuff. So Cave Vineyard sent me a wine picture, put some more of the faces and people up front. I'm going to change this out with an MPS
Yeah.
picture that has something more interesting. I've got a couple different shopping shots, still not a lot of shopping stuff to work with. One came from my photos and one came from Green Sparrow. Marty Ogden shot this one in October, so I could interchange either of those. With this one, I was using downtown elements. With this, using countywide, and then with the brochure book, also countywide pieces in addition. Yeah. But so if you have things on there you want me to change out, shoot me an email or put them down and let me know.
Very good.
And I should have an update on numbers for you by the end of the week, hopefully by Thursday.
Okay, a lot of work I know went into these. We appreciate it. Nice job. Got all of our new business. Any other business that anybody has or can think of? Going once.
Yep. Motion for adjournment.
Second?
Okay.
You want me to approve on that, do we?
Aye.
Okay, thanks y'all. Have a great evening.
All right.